Hey everybody. Right now I want to do a little short video here just kind of explaining targeted individuals and something called organized stalking or gang stalking. I know many people probably have not heard about it, but I've got several videos up here on my channel and I kind of go through a little bit of my experience with it. But I want to give you a little bit of the documented background. This is going to be a 4-part series. I want to start out with this affidavit that you see on the screen here. It was written by Ted L. Gunderson, and it was written back in the early 2000s, just before he passed away. He says here under number 1, my name is Ted L. Gunderson. I am owner and operator of Ted L. Gunderson and Associate, an international security and consulting firm based out of Santa Monica, California. I am currently a licensed private investigator in the state of California. I have performed private investigations and security work for numerous individuals, companies, and governments worldwide since founding my firm in 1979. I have worked for, amongst others, F. Lee Bailey Esquire, the California Narcotics Authority, and the 1984 Los Angeles Olympic Committee, the 1979 Pan American Games in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and others. Number 2 here, you can see he says, previous to my work as a private investigator, I spent nearly 3 decades in the FBI. Between 1951 and 1960, I was an FBI special agent. In 1960, I was promoted as a supervisor of the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., where I was in charge of organized crime and racketeering investigations covering 26 FBI field offices nationwide. Following the assassination of President JFK, I was reassigned to Special Inquiry White House Matters at FBI headquarters. In 1965, I was promoted again to Assistant Special Agent in charge of Internal Security and Anti-Terrorism of the FBI New Haven, Connecticut field office. In 1970, I was promoted to Assistant Special Agent in charge of the FBI Philadelphia, Pennsylvania field office. In July 12th of 72, I successfully negotiated with 2 terrorist hijackers of the National Airline Flight 496, so on and so forth. I'm going to skip down for the sake of time here, but I kind of want to get to the basis of this affidavit. Number 3 kind of spells out the basis or the purpose of this affidavit. It says here in number 3, I have read the complaints in the current action of Mr. Keith LaBella against FBI and DOJ. It is my professional opinion, based on information, knowledge, and belief, that the information sought by Mr. LaBella in this FOIA suit regarding gang stalking groups, gang stalking methods, reasonably describes an ongoing, active, covert nationwide program that is in effect today. And based on my investigations and experience, has been operational since at least the early 1980s. Since the 1980s, gang stalking has increased in scope, intensity, and sophistication by adapting new communications and surveillance technology. These programs are using the code names Echelon Program, Conaver Systems, Tempest Systems. The Echelon Program is administered by the NSA out of Fort Meade, Maryland, and monitors all email and phone calls in the world. Conaver System is administered by the NSA out of Fort Meade and can download any computer system without being traced or otherwise known to the owner. Now that's That's quite startling, friends. I mean, here you have an affidavit that was, again, written by Ted L. Gunderson, who worked in the FBI, special agent. And not only that, he had a private investigative firm. And now he's sort of blowing the whistle here and saying that there are programs set up specifically called gangstalking, or some people called it organized stalking. And the purpose of these gangstalking groups and methods is basically surveillance. But the way they do it is obviously they operate under various programs like Echelon Program, Carnivore Systems, and Tempest Systems, and they're administered by the NSA. That's the National Security Association out of Fort Meade, Maryland. That's startling. Just when we thought the NSA was protecting us from foreign terrorists, it turns out that they're promoting terrorism within our borders. And that is the result of this affidavit. And I kind of want to show you, I'm going to come back to number 3, but I want to show you here, this was written April 2011, dated the 26th day of April, signed by Ted L. Gunderson. And it was, in fact, notarized. You can see the notary stamp here. So this is an official document. But I want to go back up to number 3 here, and I kind of want to show you a little bit more of why, in fact, these programs are, in fact, invoked. It says these programs, I'm here at the bottom of number 3, it says these programs are negatively impacting thousands of Americans and severely abusing their civil rights on a daily basis. Number 4, he says, based on my investigative work, which includes intelligence from sources such as active and former members of the intelligence services, including the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA, and military intelligence, information from informants active in criminal enterprises, and victim testimonies, I have come to the conclusion that thousands of victims have been targeted by an illegal government rogue criminal enterprise that is active 24 hours a day within the U.S. This conspiracy is far too active to be controlled or operated by private enterprise whose goals are achieving financial gain. These operations require extensive financing with no return on the investment. All right, so, you can see here that basically he's describing the program based on victim testimonies, informants, so on and so forth. He's done quite a bit of investigation on this gang stalking phenomenon. And he's discovered that it is an operation here in the United States of America, and it is operating 24 hours a day. And it is, in fact, it's more than just a private enterprise. In other words, it's not operated by just one company or corporation. This is something that requires extensive funding, extensive financing with no return on investment. So it has to come from more of a government funding source than from a private funding source, because there's no return on investment. You see, someone has to obviously pay these gang stalkers. Someone has to obviously support the whole organized racketeering program. And it requires hundreds of thousands of dollars to fund this. It's a community-based program. And you will find that there are many people within your community. I know they're within my community. As I said, I've made videos on this. You can see videos. I'm going to be documenting a lot more. But they're all over. And this is a violation of human rights, and it's also a violation, very much a violation of our constitutional rights as Americans. What I find interesting is the method by which they go about stalking and harassing and following people around a community. It's all based on fabricated lies. Somehow, some kind of way, not all law enforcement, but some law enforcement agencies are involved in it. And as a result of them being involved in this demonic, despotic program, they're enlisting community members because of their status. They're enlisting community members to get involved as well. Some of them wittingly and some of them unwittingly. Many of people that get involved in it don't even know why they're involved. And then there are those that do know. But what I want us to understand is that this is very much an illegal program, and it is very much active. And what I'm sharing here is an affidavit from Ted L. Gunderson that he wrote back in 2011, which is only about 8-9 years ago. But, you know, very much it's been in vogue. It's been active since 1980. And this is what he's bringing out in this affidavit. I want to go a little bit further down here, number 5. He says on number 5, I have documentation and know that throughout the U.S. Let me back up because I want to show you where they get their funding from, because that's important. That's something that I wanted to start out talking about here, but I want to continue here at the bottom of 4. It says, this program's operations are financed by illegal black operations, i.e. narcotics, prostitution, child kidnapping, children's sale as covert auctions for up to $50,000 per child, human trafficking, gambling, and other rackets. Okay. So I'm just sharing what Ted Gunderson had uncovered in his investigation. Again, this is an affidavit written by Ted L. Gunderson back in 2011. Number 5, notice what it says here. I have documentation and know that throughout the U.S., operating 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, there is a central command located within the U.S. with multiple satellite office whose administrators can instantly initiate surveillance, phone tap, and harassment against any individual in the country. They have the technology, financing, and manpower to dispense illegal surveillance. I want you to notice that, you know, Ted Gunderson actually identifies it correctly as illegal surveillance and harassment against anyone at any time, day or night. He says, I have files on numerous cases of active and programmatic illegal government harassment currently being conducted against thousands of Americans. And then he says this, bottom of 5 there, it says, this makes the FBI former COINTEL program, which I worked on, including in a supervisory capacity, look like a Sunday school program by comparison. So it's startling to know that there are programs in vogue or in operation here currently within the United States of America that can dispense illegal surveillance, phone taps, and various other surveillance on individuals day and night, 24 hours a day, and that they can actually do this and no one stop them, no one be able to control it, no one be able to question it. But he does identify it as a program that was similar to the COINTEL program, which he worked on. So obviously he knew what the COINTEL program was all about. And that's what its code name means, COINTEL Pro. It's a program where, you have your own peers around you within the community spying on individuals and then telling on them. All right. Number 6, notice what it says. Number 6, I firmly believe that most individuals working in the FBI, other intelligence agencies, and government overall are honest, which I do too as well, law-abiding public servants. However, a sophisticated network of rogue operatives has secretly infiltrated the FBI and other intelligence agencies, including the CIA and other key government positions. This rogue element seeks personal power and wealth and considers themselves above the law and the Constitution. Now, that's a fact. That is the reason why I'm talking about this now, because obviously, we're not pointing fingers at the government in and of itself, but there are individuals within the confines of the operational chart of the government that are seeking power. They're seeking, influence, control. And again, friend, this is something obviously that is on file. You can find it on the internet. You can find it anywhere. But it was written back in 2011, and the programs still continue. As I mentioned earlier, I have video footage of actual organized stalking, gang stalking, and I'm going to be uploading more. But this is very much against the law and against the Constitution. So as a law-abiding American, I'm blowing the whistle on this, and I'm saying it's time out for all of this activity. And the American people need to know, they need to see what's going on. And as long as I'm living, I'm going to share it in this form, in this regard. Let me continue. It says, they are carrying out the aforementioned surveillance and harassment activities in conjunction with organized crime and cult movements in America, including satanic cults, other commercial and political interests, and even misguided civic organizations and neighborhood groups. Now, see, that makes it very clear who actually is involved in this. He says they're carrying out this type of activity under the guise of misguided civic organizations. That's like your neighborhood watch programs. All right. And then it goes on to say here, and I'm gonna go through 6 and 7 and then close it out here on this segment. But I kind of wanted to point out the basis of this whole gang stalking program, based on documentation, legal documentation, and actually someone who was a secret special agent for the FBI. It says here, the illegal surveillance and harassment program is being called gang stalking and organized stalking by the victims targeted by it. The victims are targeted for a variety of reasons, including government and corporate whistleblowers, parties to financial and important employment disputes, parties to marital disputes, usually divorced women, and even jilted paramours. I'm not sure what that means, but journalists covering controversial issues, and even attorneys and private investigators representing unpopular clients or interests have been targeted by this program. So you can see that the people that are being targeted by this gang stalking or organized stalking program are just people who just want the truth to get out. They want to share the truth. We're talking about people who are whistleblowers, people who are obviously involved in litigation, attorneys, private investigators, even some law enforcement agents. And so you can see how this program going unchecked like this can strike a lot of fear to the average person. But it doesn't strike fear to me, because you see, there's a higher power that I'm connected to that I know, in fact, is protecting me. And so it doesn't matter what man can do, because the scriptures tell me very clearly in Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. And that is the hope that I wanted to share with all of you that are watching this video. If you, for whatever reasons, become a victim of this gang stalking program, or if you become a victim of organized stalking, and you find yourself being watched, tracked, surveilled, harassed, and you're not sure why, just know that the purpose of this program is obviously, it's basically a cult, okay? It includes people that are involved in Masonic, satanic cults, and others who are sort of working in a very dark fashion to establish control, influence, and control within the country. They're illegal and they're going unchecked. And it seems as though many people, for whatever reasons, don't know anything about it. And rightly so, because obviously they're very secretive. But as I've said before, I'm going to say it again. We're going to shine the light on these rats and they're going to go scurrying. Very soon, you're going to see how many rats are in the community, in the government, who are involved in this gang stalking, organized stalking, and you're going to see them go scurrying. They're going to go running for cover, but it's going to be too late because they're going to come to their end. And you can imagine these weak gang stalkers, when they finally come to their end, they're going to realize whose side they were actually on. They're going to realize how defeated they are. And so, friends, I encourage you to take hope, not so much in anything in this world, but, find your connection to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because he said that I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. And he promises that he will give us peace, and he has left peace for his people, those that accept him and follow him. So may God bless you. Until the next video, this is Targeted Freedom Voice. I'm out.